The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Okay, so good morning and welcome everybody. We are now into our second weekly webinar aimed at sharing some expert advice to help you, our members. And super to see we have up to 90 people tuned into us right now. So well done. Networks like ours, Killarney Chamber of Tourism and Commerce, have never been more important than during this pandemic. And we hope the resources and best practice tips being shared are helpful. Although we must stay physically distant, we can still be virtually connected and plan for a strong future together. Like last week, a recording will be taken of each webinar, which will be subsequently available to download on our dedicated resource page on killarney.ie. This week, our webinar is on the theme of conquering marketing principles during COVID-19. Please note a follow-up to this webinar will be delivered in 2 weeks' time by the Innovate Room consultants, and that webinar will focus on preparing your plans to reopen your business and reimagining a new sales landscape. I'm now delighted to welcome this morning presenter Marc Thornton, Managing Director of DTA Marketing, a marketing and training consultancy based in Dublin. Marc has over 20 years' experience in marketing, knows Killarney very well, and will share with us tips and ideas during these uncertain times. Please feel free to use the question box if you have anything you would like to ask, as Marc and my colleague Niall Kelleher will facilitate the question and answer session at the end of the presentation. Thank you for joining us today. And Marc, over to you now in Dublin. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Paul. Delighted to be here in visual. And yes, indeed, I know Killarney very well. I've worked with lots of hotels and clients in Killarney, so delighted to share a few marketing ideas with you. So yes, what a stunning view of Killarney. We're very jealous up here in Dublin of what you have, but hopefully we'll all be out and about very shortly. Some of you may have seen some fun logos that were devised by the brilliant marketing people in some of the marketing companies, and the logo, as you can see, the McDonald's, Burger King and Coca-Cola, and the Guinness one on the right is basically a couch sitting on top of a pint of Guinness, which I thought was quite clever. Obviously, people like McDonald's are opening up again, and lots of hotels, including many of my clients, are opening up for takeaways, and we wish them the best of that in the short term. You may have seen this as well. This is a skit on Kit Kat, and it's something that you might all empathize with, and I'm sure it was deliberately done, but it's a bit of fun, and this is what marketing people are doing during these downtimes. So what am I going to do for the next 30-40 minutes? I'm going to talk about marketing. A lot of people have misconceptions in marketing, so what I call demystify marketing. I know many marketers are getting ready, and they may have to have a different tone because obviously they're welcoming people back, and they want to share and understand what people have been through in the last little while. So this really is more for people who are not so familiar with marketing, or new to marketing, or indeed are a bit unsure about what marketing they might like to do. So I'll talk briefly about getting ready, do the brainstorming now and get a bit of a marketing plan together. And I have an article which I can share with you later on. 12 things to do when you're in lockdown. And then the last thing, many of you know me as a specialist in customer care with the hospitality. There's a few little things to maybe get ready to welcome your guests and tips for dealing with staff after it is open. Okay, so the 12 things I'm going to cover are looking with fresh eyes at your current marketing material, seeing how you can change what you have. Testimonials and case studies. I know many of you are in hospitality, and reviews might be a different word. Gather them and use them. Updating your website with news and blogs. Looking at your database. Sorry, updating your website with news and blogs. Looking at your competition and getting ideas in these downtimes. You have time in your hands, so why not use it well to study what your competitors are doing. Keep your marketing material relevant, and I'll give you a few examples of Killarney people as well doing things on that area. Update your presentation proposal template, how you quote for new business, especially hotels. Obviously, when people ask and look for a price for things, what all that looks like is quite important. looking at your social media, things you can do in this downtime, e-zines, electronic newsletters, maybe doing some research on your customers. A big thing would be to look at your own website and see what can change and needs to be changed in the short term. Lots of people, when you look at your website, see that it could be improved. I'm going to give you some tips. And then a concept I call the pillars. What is your real message when you're communicating with your customers? I'm very conscious that there's marketing people, that there's hoteliers and different people from different business sectors. So I'm going to try as my best cover what I can. So what is marketing? And basically, if we all understand what marketing is about, we'll have a better conversation today. It's not an exact science. So there isn't one definition, there isn't one way of marketing, but there's kind of core principles. And there's about 2,000 definitions of marketing. So I'm going to give you my one so that it might help you in going forward. Also, things change in the world and marketeers need to be flexible and read the science. I'm going to show you 2 tools to how to do that. So here's a definition that I prefer, and I think it really sums up what marketing is about. You'll look at it and see the words advertising, promotion, selling doesn't appear there because they are the tools of marketing. What I want to explain to you is that marketing is a concept. It's a way of looking at business from the customer out. I worked with Fergal Quinn and Super Quinn, many of you know, and the company was all about that, and most companies really should be all about focusing on the customer. The marketing people need to get the message across that whatever product or service you're offering is based on the customer needs, not what you think you're good at. Okay, so the best way to kind of divide marketing is to put it into 2 parts. The left-hand column refers to the thinking strategic part, behind the scenes research, looking at your competitors, looking at the marketplace, setting goals and objectives. And then on the other side, you have the action part, which is most people are familiar with, and that comes after you've done your thinking, your research, and understanding what's going on. So there's the common marketing implementation part, which is the 4 Ps, which most of you are familiar with. And then the 5th P is people, because especially a destination place like Killarney, tourism, activities, visitor centres, visitor attractions, it's all about the people, the staff and the customers. So it's very, very important that you have all those parts right in your marketing. Okay. Everybody is involved in marketing. People often say to me, oh, we don't have a marketing department. Everybody is involved, because when you engage with the guest, the customer, you are presenting an image and a brand. You're representing your brand. So from the owners right down to temporary staff, students, interns, everybody's involved. I think it's very important in these challenging times that everybody works together in Killarney. And what I would suggest is you view Killarney businesses, I'm sure you'll agree, councillors and chairman, that Killarney businesses need to work together as a team, so to support each other, refer business to each other, buy locally, engage with other business people and see how they're doing, reach out. So in the business environment, I know we reach out to older folk and people who are isolated, but I would suggest too that you reach out to other businesses and ask them, how are they doing? Do they need help? Is there any way we can work together to make it better for you? So I think it's very important that people do work together in Killarney, and you've been fantastic at marketing Killarney as a destination, so keep it up. So just before we get into the activities, so there's 3 questions. I sometimes get into trouble when I'm involved in senior companies and saying it's really very simple. Where are we now? Where are we going? And how are we going to get there? But basically, that's what marketing plan is all about. And I think you should use this time when you be a bit quieter to maybe with some colleagues. There's a couple of tools that you might like to use. A marketing plan can be as sophisticated as you want or as simple as you want. I have an article I'll show you later on how to get it, on how to write a marketing plan. So there's 2 tools that we marketers use. We use what's called a PESTLE, political, economic, social, technical, legal environment, and that analyzes the macro environment. And it's very important to know what's going on, and COVID-19 has changed an awful lot of stuff that's going on in the economics of the country. So maybe you need to tear up your plan and start again, but mostly just do what I call a PESTLE and the very famous SWOT, which most of you are familiar with: strengths, weaknesses, opportunities and threats. And the most important boxes are the weaknesses and the opportunities. So spend time looking at a SWOT of your business, get a few of your senior colleagues, you can do it by distances, and get them to look at what you might focus on during these times and what's important to be ready, activities to be ready for when we start up again in a few weeks' time, hopefully. So here at lightning speed are the 12 activities that you could do now when you're in lockdown. Fresh eyes, we know that, and I know that concept very well as a consultant, but fresh eyes is very important. If you or your friends or colleagues or partners look at your marketing material and see, does it really reflect where you are now? Simple little things. I'll refer later to the website, but your business card, what's your email signature look like, your brochures, your housing folders. Here's just a couple of examples of business cards and email e-signatures that I've worked with. So on the right and bottom right hand side, you've got a simple business card, but just laying it out differently, adding in your social media. Is your card up to date? Are you using both sides? And I don't mean by, when I mean by both sides, I don't mean just on the back having your web address. Have actually something constructive in the hospitality sector. Ideal to have photographs that maybe are on your website just to show some food and atmosphere in your hotel. The middle business card is a four-sided card. It folds over. It's got a photograph, so non-hoteliers might find it useful. In fact, even activity places might find it useful to have actually to use a four-sided one, because you can list a lot of activities and things that are on at certain times, which may can be passed on to other people. And then the top one is an email signature. It's a client of mine. They do HR and support for the early learning sector. And again, it's a banner at the bottom of their email signature. It adds to their brand and looks very nice. So those of you who have plain text, I think really you need, in this day and age, to have something interesting in your email signature. It's slightly different for hospitality, but most people look at reviews. I'm using the word testimonials. So everybody loves reviews. In fact, as many of you know, we're on TripAdvisor, and I know many of you personally, a lot of you will be always looking at the negative reviews, and as customers and guests, we look at the negative reviews. Over 70% of people, when they look on TripAdvisor, look for a negative review to see what kind of negative reviews there are and how well they've been answered by the hotel or the activity centre. And in business, it's much the same. We look for reviews, but we look for more testimonials. It's slightly different than hospitality. We look to see what other people have to say, and it's important that the name and the logo of the person, not just Mary B. Dublin or vaguely. That doesn't do us any good at all. And logos are great if you can have a logo written up to show how proud you are of that particular company. That's quite good. So the second most popular page on business pages is the testimonials, and I would gather in reviews on hospitality sites that it's equally very important. And if it's not on your site, they're going to look it up on bookings.com and TripAdvisor. Simple things like a quote, the name of the person and the logo. And if you have a number of clients or suppliers, or depending on the industry sector, so if you're an insurance broker, what big brands you're dealing with, it does impress your customers. News and blogs is another thing. Google loves and sends out spiders, as we all know, every 4 or 5 weeks to see what changes are on your website. It helps you enormously with your SEO. So simple thing like updating it with a picture and 200 words. There's lots of stories we can use, and you can use the stories of your social media and put them onto your website, and vice versa. Website stories can be put onto your social media. And it's good now to plan a few while we're in lockdown. I'll give you an example of a couple. On the right-hand side, it's a client of mine, the Marion Inn in Dublin. The owner is very much into dogs, and he did a lovely post on his website, and then that transferred into social media, and he regularly pops up on social media with these stories. People love blogs and news and breaking stories. These are more business related ones, but hotels again would have new things, new appointments, and they should try and make it as newsy as possible. Databases, it's a thorn in a lot of people's side. Every time people say, let's do a mail shot, is your database up to date? Has it got permissions? For those of you who don't have databases, the Zoho is a free for a certain amount of and certain usage. But even in the short term, if you want to check out your database or set one up, I would suggest you even use an Excel spreadsheet. And you can use the emails from business card, but also in your Outlook or in your Google, in your Gmail, and start putting it into tabs. So a big exercise during the lockdown would be to look again at your database. Is it up to date? Have you gathered all that you could get? If you use MailChimp and some other electronic tools, they will often get rid of dedupes for you and things like that. One thing I would refer to is intermediaries. Intermediaries are very, very important because they are the people who refer business to you. And whether they're in your database or not, you should look at people who you should work with and could work with. So the activity centers obviously work with hotels. You might just check who is the head porter, the concierge, the reception desks. Have they moved? Have they changed? And keep a list of those very, very important people who refer business to you and engage with them, invite them down. I know hoteliers visit activity centres and pleasure places. It's very important that you invite them down to make sure that they're able to firsthand refer your business. So you have to work on that a bit, okay? It's a good time in lockdown to check out your competitors. In marketing, there's very few brand new things. What happens in marketing is we copy, we steal, we borrow, we devise, or we brainstorm based on what we've seen elsewhere and make up something new. So it's very important to check out the competition. Look at their website. In the old days, it was difficult to get information. Nowadays, when you look at somebody's website, they're boasting about, oh, how wonderful this is. So do look at their websites, see what's new, see what they're doing. And then another thing you could do is check out their SEO. So put in the keywords that you use and see how they're ranked compared to you. The US and USA often will have equivalent sites and equivalent in English-speaking markets to ours. See what they're doing, see what their trends are, and then you can add it to your own marketing. Use this time well. I would also, and Killarney is probably one of the best at meeting up with your own chamber and so on, and business networks. And I know the hotels have networks as well. Meet up and share what's going on. People who are not directly in competition with you. The more you share, the more you get back. I'd certainly use this time to kind of check in with people and see how they're doing. Whatever you want to call it, sending out a quote, a proposal template, responding to a request for a room or a function or whatever it is, I would suggest that you look at your current proposal quotation template. Is it plain Word? Is it very all text? Is it heavy? Do you use pictures? It's so easy to add in and brighten up. I've worked with travel agents all around Ireland, and they used to always send out plain text. Can you imagine trying to sell a holiday to Disney with just words and no pictures of, the Cinderella castle and all the fun things the kids can have? Just a few pictures. Also, if you have quotations from testimonials from customers, reviews, stick in a few. Also, don't be afraid to put in why you should choose our hotel, our business. I'm conscious there's a mixture of business here today. So have a why us section would be quite important. Also personalize it. And I was just thinking this morning that you will have people who ring up on the phone to book an anniversary or to book in their granny's 80th or whatever it is. The quotation back should show that you have listened by personalizing the quote. So rather than just say, thank you for inquiry, here's the rate. We were delighted to welcome your grandparents or on your special anniversary occasion. Shows that you've listened and personalized, and that could actually make the difference between whether they come with you or not. And then price sometimes goes out the window when they see how interested you are in having them stay with you. So here's one I did for a business recently. It's an IT company. So you can see how the cover, and you can make this into a PDF and personalized. Just so something different. So use your brand. Keep up, and you might well allocate 1 or 2 staff to look after it, which is great. And in some cases, it'll generate leads, but in others, it's really just a presence on the internet. Don't try to kind of do too much. A lot of us get out of date very quickly, like with blogs and news. If you don't post often, it's often seen to be out of date. But maybe you would have 1 or 2 in the medium term. So that's really what I would focus on. Focus on what you can achieve. B2B, for those of you involved, or even senior people in hotels, it works. It's very good because people will check you out, and if they check out your name, your LinkedIn will come up. So do add connections. somebody mentioned to me the other day that when you're doing your connections, write a note of how you know them or where you met them. You know, I've done that in the last 2 weeks, and I've virtually connected every single person. And I'd say my hit rate before that was a bit lower. So do write an intro. It's a good idea, and as in why you know them or where you refer to them, and it's more likely that they'll connect with you. Obviously, link your social media to your website and various other places. People love good stories, so again on LinkedIn, even if and your website, your Facebook, and so on. Stories even in lockdowns, stories about staff, what they're up to, and I would think I'll show you a couple of examples now. But do keep it up. It's hard to, but it's good. If you feel you're not going to post too much now, get stuff and be ready. Think of stories. Think of people who in your property or in your business who have done something, maybe even if it's not so necessarily relevant to the business, but how they've occupied in COVID times, it could well be worthwhile doing. Okay, I'm going to show you something now in a minute on relevancy. E-zines, they are electronic newsletters. A lot of times they're free. MailChimp do fantastic stuff, and it's actually a very good time when you're in this lockdown period. I would suggest that you look at learning some of these tools, like Zoom obviously is the one we're all learning nowadays. Zoho for the database is a very clever one. MailChimp, and I'm going to talk about SurveyMonkey in a minute. So spend time looking at them if you not familiar with them, or maybe you have teams of people who look after them. Maybe you should look in and use your time well to learn new skills. E-zines, I'm going to show you a couple of examples now, are really inexpensive way of keeping in touch. So here's a business one on the left. It's a picture of the owner, Tom. They do telephone answering, virtual, and they're very popular in these times. On the right-hand side, you've got former clients of mine, Nav and Travel, who just simply did a simple one around Easter and just trying to keep in touch with their target market. McLaughlin Donaldson are intellectual property attorneys, and they would have a more heavier type of newsletter, and that works well for certain industry sectors. So I would suggest that you work on your database. You plan them. I mean, you don't have to send them out now. You might well say be wasted. People aren't reading all their emails. Although genuinely I do think that those people who are working are reading stuff. But plan your topics now. I know that it takes nearly a week or 2 weeks, maybe sometimes 3 weeks, to plan a newsletter and to get it out and get your database in and up to date. So I would suggest you work on your topics now. You start planning now and writing it, and you're ready to go. So as soon as we're back in business, you might be ready to have a blast of a few very quickly. But I would suggest in the interim, like Navan Travel or Travalu as they are up in Navan, that you keep in touch. And even if it's fun stuff, you just wish all your customers well or your guests well, and you keep in touch and say, looking forward to seeing you soon. I think that would be nice. Customer care message as well. Doing some research on your customers. You know, in the downtime, why not? It's a good idea to keep in touch. I find that, and we did an exercise recently for a client whereby they did a new website, and we asked people to review it. And just yesterday, about 50 people, and the amount of positive comments came back, which was wonderful, but also with a couple of suggestions. So we actually asked them to review the new website, and it was a great success. So surveys are something similar. SurveyMonkey.com is mostly free, depending on the numbers and questions. I think in the recent times, while hoteliers do it in their rooms, you could just do a general one. You know, are they happy with the service that they've received in the past? But a lot of people don't do electronic surveys anymore because the kind of reputation has been that they take too long to do, and it's not really helpful possibly to the person who's filling it in. But if you have only like 4 or 5 questions, it's very quick and smart. I think most people genuine will probably help you out. And it's always good in a survey. Again, you can do them now or you might do them later. But I add in a question, did you know we do this? I mean, even if hotels are doing takeaway foods or doing delivery of foods, you could slip that in now, and that would be part marketing, part research. And I'd say at least you're informing your target market of what you're doing. Always say that you want to improve the service and you appreciate their feedback, and that way you will get people contributing, and the people who like you will probably be saying, very positive things which you might well be using later on in reviews or testimonials. So it's well worth exploring, doing research in these downtimes. I mentioned before about reviewing your website, whether you review it or your pals or your senior management team. And I use the expression fresh eyes. So look and see, does it have the following things? Is it up to date with all that you're offering at the moment? Is there a clear call to action? A call to action is top right hand corner, call about a quote, or call for this, or book a table, or book your takeaway now, whatever's current at the moment. Make sure that that call to action is relevant. It might have changed with COVID, so do that. The About Us is very, very important. I mentioned the most important pages in websites, and from a business point of view, and I'm talking about consumer, is two of them are the testimonials, the reviews, who makes opinions of your business and what they have to say about you. And the second most important page is the About Us, and pictures of people. I'll come to that in a minute. It's very, very, very popular. Showing off your team. People like to know who they're talking to and who are the senior people. Maybe not so much in hotel, they might like to see the general manager, but generally real pictures of real staff. And I would definitely suggest you get professional pics. That's really vital. And I'll show you some in a minute now. It makes a big, big difference compared to ones taken with a smartphone. The smartphone is great for the social media, for the smaller stuff, but the most important one, the big sliders, the big ones, the showing you the rooms, it really is important. Where it's relevant, you might put the why us. Many people in hotels don't have to worry about that, but they just kind of can often show off how their place looks. I would suggest you have lots of people in the photographs, and we'll come to that in a minute. Check out your SEO, how you're doing in ranking. I've been doing that for a lot of clients while we've been downtiming, just because we can. So how does your words compare to others, and what page you're on, and then you can see maybe what you need to do. And when you review your site, you'll probably discover that there's a few changes needed, and that will help you with your SEO. Again, if you can have testimonials, reviews, especially in the restaurant industry, it's lovely if you get nice reviews on the different platforms to bring them onto your site. I know lots of people in restaurants do it. It's a really good thing to have current, recent reviews from those medium and have them on your own website. Here's some of your own local people. You might know Mike Rosney and Geraldine. That's on the front page of their website, which I think is terrific. So it's a family-owned business. The Brehan, the chef there, Chad, I'm in touch with quite often. He's, again, profiling, get an interesting photograph. And Anna Marie, some of you probably know her. I did work with her previously before as well. I mean, make sure that your photographs are up to date and represent your business. And I think I love the one about Mike and Geraldine and the chef in situ, which is much more important than up against a wall, so to speak. This is one of my favorite websites. You might recognize it's the Farm Gate in Cork. It's above English Market. And I love it because it really is what it is. It's full of people. You can see the food and tables, moving staff. It's a very small restaurant, but it's a very atmospheric restaurant. I think you get that. And I would really highly recommend you look at the photographs on your website at the moment, and you look and see, could you update them? Is it worthwhile getting in and posing some photographs? Here's a bar I worked with out on the Navan Road, the Grasshopper. Again, this person in the middle is a customer. It was a happy birthday for him. It was a night out in the pub, and the rest of them are the bar staff and the owners looking on, and that's full of atmosphere. And that's what people want. I mean, the opposite, I won't show you websites where the opposite, but you all know that we go on to, dare I say it, hopefully I won't get into trouble, hotels and bars and restaurant websites, and it shows empty tables and doesn't show people having fun and an atmospheric. I think we need to bring back that into the Irish hospitality scene, whereby we've got people enjoying themselves. These people all signed up to agree that their photograph appeared, so there's no worries in GDPR. So make sure you do all that, but it can really make a big difference. Get staff to be involved. Here's a picture of a genuine staff person in a bar in Dublin. It's on the Marion Inn website. And again, beautifully framed, professional photography. It's very motivating for staff to see themselves in photographs. Number 11, be topical. This is one of your own local insurance companies. Again, keeping up to date. There's obviously things like storms and Brexit and all that kind of stuff. safety cameras, all things that are relevant, and COVID updates, what insurance companies are doing. I think it's very, very important to be relevant. This is where your news, your blogs can cover COVID stuff, or sorry, we're closed, but we're doing this, we're open for takeaways, or we'll let you know as soon as we're open, or wherever, for whatever service level you might, because we might be opening at full service levels again. So, you know, use this period to be topical and up to date. I think that's very, very important. Here's some of your local shops showing distancing. This is just before you close down, so don't panic attack here. I thought it was a lovely example of what you're doing currently online. And there's a very lovely hotel offering mega deals and trying to entice people. But it's interesting that, you know, the Brehon are also promoting electric car charge points and USPs, things like free parking and so on. And I think we're going to be changing, and we'll discuss this later on, about people booking, and you know, the people want to be able to opt out if they have booked. I know it's not ideally for hoteliers, but you know, different rates are available on different things. We have to kind of go with the times and whatever's important. This is the last marketing topic to work on while you're in lockdown, and I hope it might be of help to you. It's one of the ideas I came up with quite a number of years ago. It's the pillars. Basically, it's what you really do. It's more for businesses than maybe for hospitality, but in hospitality, you might come up with and use this concept. So in other words, what 3 words explain the end result of what you do, or what the guest might enjoy on your premises, your property. So obviously it's relaxing and things like that. But in business, and I'll show you a few examples now, it helps you with your marketing and your promotion. So if you are an insurance broker, nearly, why should people come to you? If you're an IT person, why should people come to you? And in a hotel, again, you take out, what's the takeout? Are people going to be energized, relaxed? Are they going to be, is it a chill place? Is it just space? Whatever. Try and pick that out. Brainstorm with your colleagues and add it to your business cards. Here's just 3 business ones. I haven't really seen it too much in hospitality, but so there's a technology company. So they talk about protecting your IT assets, supporting you when you're down or when you have challenges, and enhancing getting the max out of your computers. Business, they're a new business startup. I'm helping them, and they analyze, in the pub business in particular, you know, your stock, your margins. They develop a plan, and then they make sure that it's implemented and it's a success in your business. So the 3 pillars, the 3 words that describe what you really do for your customers. Okay. So this is the second last slide. It's 31 minutes. So hopefully you're still with me. Customer care, I'm very, very passionate about customer care, guest care. And here's just a couple of thoughts to remind you when we are opening up again, for those that it's relevant. So make sure you train your staff and are motivated to, I use the word, to like the guests. Get your staff to engage. I know at a distance, obviously it's going to be slightly new, but it's very, very important that we do connect with the guests. And I mentioned the word empathize, because after COVID-19, we could have a different conversation. It could be things like, how did you get through it? Because if it is a guest and they know you well, they're probably dying to tell you, not dying to tell you, but they were keen to tell you how they got on, what the kids got up to. If they had a loss, which is very tragic, they might say, we lost mom, or we lost granny, or wherever it is. So it's very important that, you know, you understand that they had challenging times, and that they're here to relax, and that if you do need to connect and empathize with them, that you know what they've been through and you move on swiftly. We're probably not necessarily in the right order here, but upsell. I mean, we're obviously going to be way behind in our incomes after the lockdown. So people will be out for treats. I think people are already planning, what are you going to do as soon as lockdown's over? So it might be upselling that gin or upselling the room. So even just in a nice suggestive way, not any way pressuring, but I think upsell skills are going to be very, very important when we get going again. Be observant and act upon it. Notice staff need to be proactive. Those of you who know me in hospitality, one of my biggest things is to anticipate the needs of guests. Do it before you're asked. So if any of you are not familiar with the concept, if the staff offer or do and suggest something to the guest, to the customer, before they're asked, the company and the staff get the credit. If the guest asks for something and we deliver it, it's just a satisfactory service. Second last thing is use their name. My God, if you could remember a guest's name when they walk in after being out for 3 months or a while, and it really shows you care and you remember them personally. And I think that's really, really very important. And again, those who know me, I'm very much into not using words like "is everything okay," "is everything all right," but that we use the word "enjoy," and to make sure the guests are enjoying being back, enjoying their evening meal, and if we need to improve things, you know, you're going to take it on board immediately. That's me done. It's just over 30 minutes. I'm looking forward to questions. I promised you there's an article I've written on how to write a marketing plan for those of you who don't have marketing plans and would like some assistance and help. You can call me or email me and they'll be on the slides, and if you Google me you'll find me very easily. So thank you very much and look forward to your questions. Thank you. Hello.
Hi. Yeah, you're on. Mark, fantastic. Thank you so much. That was incredibly engaging. I just have an extremely long to-do list after that.
Okay.
I've just remembered so much that I previously learned, but that was fantastic and well done. There's some great tips
You're most
there.
welcome.
Yeah, thank you very much. Hopefully we'll have some questions, and I can pop you over to Niall now shortly, who'll sort of chair the question session. So Niall, if you were there, we got any questions coming in?
Yeah, certainly. So what I'll say to anyone that wants to ask a question, there's a function to put up your hand, which you can do so, and I can patch you in directly to Mark. Or there is a question session box here for you to come into. So I'll just bring you in first to Connor Hinnigan. Sorry, no, and I'll just find Connor here. And if anybody else, just put up your hand on the system and we can see it directly. So sorry, no. Connor, you're live there now and you can talk away to Mark.
Great. Mark, firstly, thanks very much. Very, very relevant information. Very interesting, very engaging, and hopefully very useful for businesses once we open up. I suppose talking more as a destination, Mark, firstly, obviously, when the government restrictions are lifted, should we have a destination message rather than an individual message? I mean, obviously, businesses will have an individual message to send out and engage with their customers, but would we, as a destination, be better served to have one destination message and we all embrace that message? And if so, what do you think that message would be?
Connor, nice to talk to you again. Yes, I definitely agree that marketing together would be very, very valuable. Just as an aside, I do know that when everybody markets on their own, you still have to get people to Killarney, and I think this has been a failure of a lot of destinations in Ireland, that they haven't come together. Now, yourselves in Westport are probably the leaders in this, and I definitely think that you should invest together to promote Killarney. I mean, you've got to pick out why would people come to Killarney, and obviously there's the beautiful scenery. And I am conscious that if you market on your own, you don't have room to say things like Outdoor Heights or overlooking the lakes or all the super things. But if you do collective marketing, you can actually put those things as a destination together. So basically, you know, the town is open and the whole area, obviously, when you get the full opening, I'm not sure if it's going to be all in one go, but I think definitely destination marketing together. I think you probably should plan that now, and some of the businesses get together, pick out. I mean, this is what the beauty of brainstorming. I mean, it's not for me to say the 3 things you should say, but if you could get your heads together, I definitely think if you pick small number of, like, take the 3 pillars. What 3 things do Killarney offer to the tourist, and promote those together?
Okay. Are you, Connor? Thank you.
Yeah. No, thanks, Mark.
Pleasure.
So, Mark, I have another question here from Sean. Hi, Mark. How often would you recommend a company post on social media per week? I'm currently posting between 3 to 5 per week to keep it update, and have posts scheduled until mid-May, both videos and photos. Do you think this is the right strategy, or would you conserve content for later?
Sean, thank you. I think it's congratulations on keeping up with 3 to 5 social media posts a week. That's hard to keep it up. The danger is there's two things here. One is the danger is of overdoing it. If you overdo it, people will then not want to look at your stuff anymore. So Instagram is a great tool in many ways, and every time you post, you can see, does it go up? And I know people, and even indeed in my own family, they're very active on Instagram and business. And every time they post, they get like 10 or 20, 30 new people, and they might lose 5 or 10. So I think Instagram gives you an instant picture of if you're overdoing it or not. I would keep it relevant. I'm not a believer of filling space with, you know, those funny cats and dogs in a cage and all those, you know, frightening each other stuff. I would keep it relevant. I think you have to keep in touch, Sean. That's the beauty in this time, that you're not disappearing and then you come back all of a sudden. I think it's important to keep the feed. And maybe you use profile, as I mentioned earlier on, pick a couple of staff members who have family. What are they doing during lockdown? So it's a human story as well, because you can't keep producing, if you're in the food business, new dishes, because obviously people don't come in. So yes, I would think 5 is too much. Personally, I think 3 a week is more than enough on social media. So yeah, keep it up, Sean.
Another question here from Ian. Social media has so many different formats: Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, etc. Any software recommended to manage them all together?
Oh, there is. I'm doing a blank now. If you search it up, I'm not the expert on that software, but there is one that you post. Oh, it's a Hootsuite. I'm not sure but there is one that posts all together. I'm sorry, you'd have to research that one, Ian. But there are ones that and also they're all complementary. So I think you can post. Like, I know if you post on LinkedIn, you can link to your Facebook and other tools as well.
Okay, Paul O'Neill, I'll let you come in there.
Hi guys, thanks for that presentation, Mark. That was excellent. Hootsuite is the name of that.
That's it. Yeah.
Application. I think a lot of what you were saying there, Mark, was great. Paul, you mentioned that. I think now is a great opportunity for us to start looking at fresh eyes at our own businesses and you know, reviewing what we have out there. Just in terms of the marketing plan, Mark, is it to email you and you will send out that marketing plan? I think it's a great idea.
Yes, you can call me 0862 555 702 or email me. Just Google me and you'll find me, and email me and I'll send it by return. Yep.
Fantastic. I think
it's
that's a great
very
exercise.
Comprehensive and very helpful. Yeah.
Yeah, look, I think it's a very useful exercise for any business to do when we're looking for something to occupy ourselves with. So thanks a lot.
Pleasure.
Brilliant. Yeah, Claire came in there and said it was Hootsuite. So thank you for that. And shows that people in the audience can still contribute. So if there's anybody else with any questions, as I say, please put up your hand. There's no other question coming in on the question box. So just in case people think I'm gone absolutely mad, today is Dress Formal Day, a fundraiser for the people on our front line. So that's why I dressed up and raised some valuable money. I believe there's 40,000 raised already when I just checked it a while ago. So get donating to our frontline staff, frontline workers. That's great. And I suppose I have one question, Mark, and this comes to where the collective as an organisation, as a town, as a county, wherein, you know, we're still in lockdown till the 5th of May. If you take it as of last night, we were told if the 5th of May was today, it'd probably be extended. So when is the right time when we're starting to get ready to start opening up, you know, putting your business out there in that regard?
Well, it is a challenge because we obviously are waiting on news. I mean, as soon as we get an opening, I think we should start promoting. The thing about social media is it's not as costly, and even if you go too early, I mean, trying to book media space on radio and newspapers is very expensive if you go too early. I think what was it Sean earlier on talked about social media and keeping in touch. I would certainly keep up some sort of social presence, social media presence. I mean, a lot of the businesses in Killarney are hospitality, and they can take bookings far out. So I think there's a number of industries that will be able to advertise safely for, well, we'd like to hope safely for September, October. And if they are going to do that, I think they need to put in that cancellation is easy, or there's no penalty, you know, that kind of, so that they can commit as long as everything is good. So I think that might work. The fact is that there's the no deposit taken, or the deposit is refundable, an easy cancellation. So I think we kind of have to save our money for the moment. If we go too early, people will regard it as wasted money. I think we really have to wait for guidelines. But I would certainly keep up the low cost, the easings, the social media in the short term, and nearly saying we're getting ready to open and have people ready so that they have an email or social media contact. They can connect very easily with you when it's all go.
Thank you. Niamh O'Shea, I'll leave you come in now.
Thanks, Niall. Thanks, Mark. That was a great presentation. I just want to pick up on the point you made, you know, about getting together as a destination and maybe picking up 3 pillars. And I suppose, you know, Killarney, you know, in the past we've, you know, our beauty, our national park, the vibrancy of the town, the people, you know, would have been key. But I suppose for the people we're trying to communicate to now, would you see that safety, and like by safety, I think health, safety, hygiene as being a pillar that we should embrace? It's something up until now, you know, Killarney would never have had to consider. You know, it was taken for granted, and it's a hard thing to get our heads around. Like, how would you make that sound attractive in a community, in a marketing piece?
Niamh, thank you very much for your question. My first reaction was not to get overly stuck on safety and hygiene, but because everybody takes it for granted now that we're going to do it properly. But actually, beneath what you're saying is a very clever point, because I wrote down the word open spaces. And the thing about Killarney is that there's lots of space where people can enjoy themselves. Do you know what I mean? It's not like a big city, Cork or Dublin, whereby you're still back in shops and everything like that. So I would certainly promote open spaces, safe activities. I wouldn't use the word safe. I would try and think of something that implies it without necessarily going health and safety route, if that makes sense. So the open road, the open spaces, and if you're doing visuals, I would certainly show, you know, the parks and the mountains and Sally's Gap, not Sally's Gap, the Gap at Dunlow, you know, that kind of is it Ladies Mountain?
Ladies View.
Ladies View. So I would use that and people could see what a wonderful place to go and do things, and they would surmise that it's very healthy and you wouldn't be meeting too many people on the road. I think that's a very good point, actually, without going the technical, you know, spacing kind of route, because I think there's no need to overly do that one because it's a given. But I think what you want to do is convey together that Killarney is a wonderful place and a safe place without always saying safe.
Yeah.
To me, it sounds sterile, if that makes sense. So yes, I think you can apply it.
Okay, yeah, and use our photography.
Use your photography, but use the words like open spaces. So that implies you're not all condensed in the one place. I mean, yeah, like to me, I mean, I do a lot of sales training, and things like uneven numbers is very important. I'm not going to give you a sales talk now, but basically, if you give an uneven number, people will believe you've counted it rather than a round figure. Is that right? So if you said hundreds of acres of the national park, yeah, that's kind of, but if you said 4,182 whatever square meters, miles, whatever, then people will say, wow, that's really huge. So I would use something like that to kind of convey space and size or routes, or you know what I mean.
Great, thank you, Mark.
My pleasure. Thanks, Niamh.
Thanks, Niamh. Interesting. Thank you for a very informative session. Plenty to be working on. Eileen Davis, Tourism Development Officer, Immigrants Commemorative Centre, Carna, Connemara. So we're stretching outside of Killarney even this morning, which is great. And we have had over 84 people registered again this morning and partaking in the webinar, and I don't see any more questions coming in.
By the way.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Niall, and thanks everybody for your questions. And Mark, just back to you there again. Thanks again. That was super. And what resounded with me was one of your opening statements. I think was that when you reminded us that everyone is in marketing, and you know, it's one of the first things that I learned when I came here to Killarney is that not only is everyone in marketing, but everyone is in tourism, irrespective of what your business is. You know, yeah. So thanks for that. Okay, and thanks to the 84 or almost up to 90 people that we had registered this morning. Thanks for engaging with us. We're back again next week at the same time, next Friday, and we haven't got anything nailed down solid yet, but we're hoping to present something on opening up following COVID-19. So we're working on that currently, and we'll be out to you with information by Tuesday next week. So our next session is 11 a.m. on Friday. So just before I sign off, just like to say thanks again to everyone for engaging. Thanks to Kerry County Council for allowing us the use of their GoToMarketing, our GoToWebinar software, and to my usual support over here in the corner, Brian Looney, Head of Digital, for getting me up and running again this morning. So thanks to everyone for joining us. We'll see you again, same time, same channel next week. Thanks again, and thanks, Mark. All the best. Bye-bye.
Pleasure. Bye-bye.